And from his mouth, from the Lord Jesus Christ's mouth, journeys out a sharp sword. A large sword that is long and broad and keen and quick in motion. It proceeds or passes out from his mouth. Now this isn't a physical sword jutting out from his mouth. It's a figurative sense referring to the effects of the Lord Jesus Christ's words as he speaks at this time. From his mouth journeys out a sharp sword, for the purpose and result that in or by this sharp sword he would strike the nations, knock or beat against the nations. That refers to people normally of the Gentile background, but in this context it refers to all nations, all of those who do not believe what God says regarding the Lord Jesus Christ, all of those who are rejecting him. And emphatically, he will shepherd them. In Greek, there's a definite word for he. He himself, the Lord Jesus Christ, will shepherd the people who believe in him, those who accept what God says regarding the Lord Jesus Christ. He will exercise the full office of a shepherd, which of course includes feeding them. It includes training them, guiding them, guarding them. Now let's see and continue. It says, within the sphere of action of an iron rod, a staff for training or a scepter of authority and office, and this rod is made of iron. That refers to the fact that it will be strong and it will not be damaged or bribed or twisted from performing its correct function. So the purpose and result of the sword, the sharp sword that comes out of the Lord Jesus Christ's mouth, and emphatically, he will shepherd them, the people within the sphere of action of the iron rod, and he treads down as the feet moving on something. He treads the trough. The trough is like a winepress. We saw that earlier in Revelation chapter 14, verse 10, 19, and 20. The trough is normally where you put the grapes and they're trodden down so as to express the juice from the grapes. So he treads, the Lord Jesus Christ treads the trough of the wine, consisting of the rage. This trough receives the effects of or from God's rage, his intense passion, consisting of the rage of the wrath. And that word wrath, it refers to God's wrath, his lasting angry vengeance, like the heat of a burning fire of God, the all-strong one. And he, the Lord Jesus Christ, has on the outer garment and on his thigh a name that has been written, and it remains written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. At this time, when he is implementing God's judgment, when he comes on his white horse with the companies of soldiers following the Lord Jesus Christ, as he deals with the people on earth, he is, in fact, King of Kings, the royal ruler, and Lord of Lords, the one who is exercising his dominion on or over the rulers and anyone else on the earth at this time. Continuing in Revelation chapter 19, and we'll see that the details written in verses 17 of chapter 19 all the way through chapter 20 verse 15 pertain to effects or events taking place on earth as a result of and corresponding to the previous events which took place in heaven. John had seen events taking place on heaven, and now we'll see the effects on earth as a result. It records the completion of the final judgments being implemented on earth following the blowing of the seventh trumpet with its 7 bowls. This is the 7th time that John writes and records the events on earth following those occurrences taking place in heaven. Again, 7 is the number associated with completeness. So let's continue in verse 17. And I saw, I perceived, I knew with my mind. John is continuing to receive revelation. I saw one angel who was standing and remained standing in the sun, very high up as John was looking towards the sun, and he cried out in a great sound, or a large voice, saying to all the birds, emphatically and specifically the birds which are flying in mid-heaven. That's overhead from where John is standing. And the voice is saying, come this way, come here. You must be caused to assemble together into the meal, emphatically and specifically the great meal of God, the large feast that God will provide for you to eat. Now this is not referring to the marriage feast referred to in verse 9, which we looked at previously. Let's read on and see what feast this is referring to. For the purpose and result that you would eat fleshes of kings, people who reign as kings over certain portions of the earth, the land, and fleshes of tribunes or military commanders of thousands of men, those who rule a body of men at arms, and fleshes of strong people, those people who are inherently strong with physical strength, and fleshes of horses, and of the people sitting down on the horses, the riders on the horses, and the fleshes of all or everybody, specifically both free men and slaves, those who are free from service to other people, and those who serve other people, and little people and great people, juniors and seniors. It doesn't matter what age they are or what status they may have on the earth at this time. Continuing in Revelation chapter 19 and verse 19, John says, and I perceived, I knew with my mind, I saw the wild animal. This is referring to the first wild animal which came out of the abyss. We saw that in Revelation chapter 11 verse 7, 13 verse 1, and 17 verse 11. And the kings of the earth, those who reign as kings over certain portions of the earth, and their companies of soldiers, referring here to the companies with the wild animal, including the lying prophet, the 10 kings, and the devil and his devil spirits, and to the company of men or human beings with the kings of the earth who reject God and the Lord Jesus Christ at this time. So John says, and I saw the wild animal and the kings of the earth and their companies of soldiers, which had already been assembled together and remained assembled together. Refer back to Revelation chapter 16 verses 12 to 16. For the purpose of making the war, doing war, or causing a battle with the one sitting down on the horse. Of course, this is referring to the Lord Jesus Christ. They wanted to cause a battle against the Lord Jesus Christ and with his companies of soldiers.